39 vegetables that you can plant in July. Welcome back to this channel, everybody. Thank you so much to everybody who's been watching. I really appreciate it. I've made you guys a list of 39 vegetables that you can plant in July. It's about 100 degrees, so if I can plant these in July, you can plant these in July too. Word to the wise, keep the seeds wet. If you are going to plant in July, you need to keep the seeds wet. And also, you need to make sure that you get things planted by July 15th. Most of these will not work if they're planted after July 15th. Some of them will. I'll try to make a note as we go along. Let's get started. Let's jump right into it. The first thing that we all think about in July is watermelon. And is it too late to plant watermelon? It is not. There are three kinds of watermelon. Oh, I forgot to say to you guys that one thing you have to keep in mind when you're planting in July is that you need to plant the shortest day count seeds possible. So let me give you an example of a day count. For example, if you have Klein's tomatoes are the biggest. They're called Klein's Epic. I have a bug on me. They're called Klein's Epic tomatoes, and they are the largest tomatoes that we, and where I live, can ripen before winter comes. And they're 1 to 2 pounds each, those tomatoes, but they're 100 days. And my average growing season is 90 days. And I do get ripe Klein's tomatoes every year, but that's because I start them in the greenhouse. So and then I also have Oregon Spring tomatoes. I have a lot of Oregon Spring tomatoes there's my dog ripe right now. And Oregon Spring tomatoes have a day count of about 45 days. So what this means is if you take an Oregon Spring tomato seed and a Klein's Epic tomato seed and plant both of those seeds on the same day, if all conditions are correct, if you have the best conditions, within 45 days you'll have a ripe Oregon Spring tomato, and 100 days later you'll have a Klein's Epic tomato. So that day count, I mean, there are every kind of like squash and melon and carrot and every different kind of vegetable has a different day count. There are 3 watermelons with the shortest day count. The first one is Sugar Baby, and then Blacktail Mountain, and the last one is called King and Queen. And King and Queen is a watermelon that is a storage melon that can keep until Christmas. So people grow King and Queen watermelons, and then they can keep them in the shed or in the garage and eat them fresh, cut them open and eat them fresh at Thanksgiving or even at Christmas. So those are the 3. The other, like a crimson, probably the most popular watermelon in the United States is a crimson sweet watermelon, and it is too late in July to plant those because their day count is about 140 days, or maybe 120 days. But right now you can plant Sugar Baby watermelons, King and Queen watermelons, and Blacktail Mountain watermelons. Next, carrots. You can plant any kind of carrot right now, but the ones that are going to get the largest, if you want to make my day, please like and subscribe this video, are Colmar Giants. And the carrots that are going to mature the fastest are Paris Market. Colmar Giant and Paris Market. Zucchini, you could still plant from seed right now. You could plant Cocosel zucchini, any green zucchini, or a gold zucchini. And all 3 of those taste different, and I would recommend you plant them all if you haven't planted some already. Now, we've already started harvesting our first zucchini here at 5,200 feet, but I may plant some others because zucchini, especially toward the end of summer, kind of get tired and don't produce as much, and it's nice to have a second fresh crop of zucchini. Right now, is it too late to plant tomatoes, peppers, and tomatillos? It is from seed, but if you go to the nurseries and the big box stores, they still have some plants available to transplant. And so right now, in the first week of July until July 15th, you could certainly transplant tomatoes, tomatillos, and peppers and still get some harvest off of those, but I would not plant from seed right now. It is your last chance to plant those. It's also your last chance to plant watermelon and your last chance to plant carrots. All of those need to be planted by July 15th or it will be too late for them this year. You can also plant your summer squash, including straight neck and crook neck from seed. It's not too late to do either one of those. Spaghetti squash. It's time now, last chance to plant our winter squashes. Winter storage squash, which includes spaghetti squash. That's the squash that looks like spaghetti after you've cooked it. It's really delicious. Not too late for that. Sweet potato squash, also called Thelma Saunders squash. And sweet potato squash kind of tastes like a sweet potato when it is cooked, and it is not too late to plant those. But you will need to do it by July 15th. I'm looking at my list. Delicata squash, which is sometimes also called honeyboat squash or candy stick squash. Those are probably the most delicious kind of winter squash that you can grow, and they're very sweet and kind of meaty and really have a great flavor to them. It's not too late to plant those. Scallop squash are the ones that kind of look like sea stars. They kind of look like, I don't know how to describe them. They're scalloped. They look like scallops. So it's not too late to plant those. Butternut squash, everyone's perennial favorite, of course, is butternut squash, and it is not too late to plant butternut squash so long as you get those seeds in the ground in between now and July 15th. So go out this week and plant yourself some butternut squash if you have not already. Let's talk about some spinach options. It is prime time right now for Malabar spinach. You could plant Malabar spinach as a transplant, or you could plant Malabar spinach as a seed. Either one will work right now. Malabar spinach is a vining spinach. It's a heat-loving spinach. It's not like Bloomsdale. It also produces berries that are good. The seeds are encased in purple berries, which a lot of people like to use in smoothies. Longevity spinach. If you've never had longevity spinach, I love longevity spinach, and you can plant that right now. Malabar, if you live like in zone 8 or above, Malabar and longevity are both perennial spinaches. If you live in zone 7 or lower, you can keep those perennial in the greenhouse if you're careful. But longevity spinach is one of my favorites in the autumn because the taste becomes very crispy and very sweet and very crunchy. It is an amazing spinach. And you would want, longevity doesn't come in seeds, it only comes in transplants. And you would be able to get a transplant now off of someplace like eBay or Etsy or maybe your local garden center. It is not too late to do the root bulbs like carrots, as I mentioned. You do need to do the short day count root bulbs if you're planting those now. So it's not too late to do rutabaga. It's certainly not too late to do radishes. You could do parsnips. It's too late for onions, for sure. You wouldn't want to do any onions. You could do beets as long as you keep them very wet. The seeds, keep them very wet. Is it too late for pumpkins? It's not. There are a couple of cultivars of pumpkins that will still work. The cultivar called small sugar pumpkins have a very early day count, so you could still plant those. And also any of the giant pumpkins. The giant pumpkins, it's kind of counterintuitive because you would think, well, Caleb, the giant pumpkins take the longest to mature, so it's way too late in July to plant those. But if you're planting them in July, you would be planting them as eating pumpkins and not giant pumpkins. They grow so fast that I always plant some giant pumpkins in July because they are the ones that are going to get the biggest before the season runs out. My season runs out in September, and they're going to get the biggest by then. Sometimes I get frost in August. Most of the time I get my first frost in September. Okra. It's okra season. If you guys have never tasted fresh okra right out of the garden, it is amazing. It tastes totally different than it does in the grocery store. Of course, all of these vegetables taste totally different than they do in the grocery store. Okra loves the heat and it loves warm soil. So you can still plant okra in July. And in order to mature a crop, if you live closer to sea level, you probably could plant okra all the way through July. I will have to have mine planted by July 15th in order to get the crop this year. It's not too late to plant honeydew melon or green flesh honeydew melon or orange flesh honeydew melon or Charente melons, which are the gourmet cantaloupes. They're called Charente melons, and it's not too late to plant those. Those are really short season and delicious. It is too late to plant Verdonnet leeks, but it is not too late to plant poncho leeks. Verdonnet leeks are the ones that mature in the summer, but what we all really want leeks for is the winter soups and stews. And so right now we would be planting our poncho leeks from seed so that we can have those mature in the autumn after the freezes have begun, after the frost has begun. So if you don't have seeds for leeks, go to Seed Renaissance and get some seeds. That's the seed company that I've owned for 15 years. What else are we doing? Bush beans. It's not too late to do bush beans. We're getting a little too late to do pole beans, although you could still do early riser. There's a pole bean called early riser that grows at the most amazing rate. There was a bug on my face. And early riser pole beans grow really fast. So you could still plant those, and you can still plant all of the bush beans at this point. But all of those, I would say, July 15th. They need to be planted by July 15th. Ground cherries. My ground cherries are up, but it is not too late to plant some ground cherries from seed, especially if you do it this week. If you've never had ground cherries, they grow on the ground, they mature in the autumn, and they kind of look like tomatillos with a papery husk that turns brown and dry when they're ripe, and they are delicious. They taste kind of like pineapple. They're yummy, really yummy. It's not too late to plant cucumbers until July 15th. You can certainly plant cucumbers. Get them going. Get them in the ground this week. It's not too late to plant basil. We can plant all of the basils still. Genovese, lettuce leaf, tulsi, globe. Of those, the ones that are going to be the slowest are the globe basil, and the ones that are going to mature the fastest are the lettuce leaf and the Genovese basil. So those are the ones I would recommend if you're planting this week. It's not too late to plant nasturtiums. Nasturtiums love the heat. Time to get those going. And nasturtiums, the flowers and the leaves are edible as well as being beautiful. So you can put those in your salads. It's not too late to plant purslane. I did do a video about a week ago that has done really well. Thank you everyone who watched that video about which plants are the most aggressive vegetables that you should not plant. And in there I said, if I were you, I would not plant purslane, and I still stand by that. I would not plant purslane. One of you did comment on the video and say that where you live, you are able to plant purslane and it does not live long enough to mature to seed, so you must have a very short growing season. But purslane loves the heat. If you want to grow it, just pluck it all out before it sets flowers. It's not too late to grow turnips. At this point, I would especially plant the white salad turnips because those are the fastest growing and maturing turnips, and just keep those seeds wet, because like beets, turnips and beets like a cooler soil temperature, and so you really want to keep those seeds wet. Let's talk also really quickly about how are we going to plant carrots at this time of year when it is so hot, and carrot seeds need to be sort of just pressed into the soil because they need light to germinate, and if they get buried very much, they have a hard time germinating and are not likely to live, and so we have to keep those pretty wet. So what some of my friends are doing is I just go out and water the carrots every day. I try to water them every morning, especially if it's windy, which it always is here. I try to water them every morning, but some of my friends are putting like a board or a piece of cardboard or a regular board or something on top of them. Some of my friends just lay that on the ground, water really heavily, put the seeds down, water really heavily, put the board down, and then check it every day and remove the board as soon as the carrot seeds germinate. Other friends of mine lift the board up on one end by putting a brick on that end or something, so there's a little breathing breathing space, but there's still full shade, I think all of those will work. You water those in the morning, because if you water them in the evening, they will have dried out somewhat by morning time, because it's so hot even at the night now. So if you water them in the early morning, they're going to have the best chance. Oh yes, I forgot. I have a note right here. I have a note here for you, and it says that really I did a video earlier this week about trellises, and more than 100 of you have watched that so far. I'm so grateful for that. It is the last chance to put on your tomato cages and to use tomato cages or other trellises for beans or cantaloupes or cucumbers, because pretty soon the beans are going to be they're my beans that I planted like 2 weeks ago or 10 days ago are already starting to have their runners on them, and they need their cages now. And the tomatoes are getting so big that if we don't get the cages on them within the next week, I think they're going to be so big it will be too late this year to even get cages on them. Of course, most of mine already have cages on them. Not all of them, though. There's still some that don't, and I haven't put any cages on my beans yet, so I need to do that. And if you want to do your trellis for your cantaloupes or for vining zucchini like rampicante squash, then you could still do that right now and give them a chance. And if you want to, you can go to the dollar store, and they have wire and tape and Velcro at the dollar store that you can use to attach your plant to the trellis if you want it to grow up there. And sweet potatoes, I forgot to say, there's still time if you have slips. It's probably too late to start your own sweet potato slips at this point, but it's not too late to buy sweet potato slips, especially rooted potted sweet potato slips, which some of the nurseries still have. So if you want to do sweet potatoes, I just planted more sweet potatoes a couple of days ago. So it's not too late to get those sweet potatoes in the ground either. It is too late to get the regular potatoes in the ground, but it's not too late to get the sweet potatoes in the ground. Everything on this list that I've just shared with you, everything that I've just shared is for planting in full sun in the open garden. Thank you everybody for listening and watching. I appreciate all of you. If you want to support this channel, please go to Amazon and browse through all of my books that they have over there, or you can get them wherever fine books are sold. I'll see you guys in the next video.